In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the tropics where we still have Tropical Storm Felipe and another disturbance developing in the Atlantic potentially that we need to talk about. The upcoming pattern looks very intense. We do have a lot of storminess on the way for especially the upper Midwest through the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley into the Northeast, and prolonged cold as we see multiple Arctic blasts in the upcoming pattern. We'll also be taking a small look at the long range as well, where we'll dive into the entirety of the month of October and even into the month of November. Now, before we do all of that, be sure to check out Prestige Weather in the description and the pinned comment down below. We do early access to all of our monthly and seasonal outlooks here, and then also we do weekly consulting calls and other consulting services within our community. It's only $5 a month, and you can check it out in the description and pinned comment down below. Let's dive into things, and as you can see, Tropical Storm Felipe here still projected to just continue on that northward track, and this is going to continue on until about Saturday, at which point we are going to see this one become post-tropical cyclone Felipe and be at about tropical storm strength, and that one should come on shore to the coast of Maine or just to the east of the coast of Maine, over the coast of Canada. So somewhere in there is where we're going to see that all taking place, and we could expect some pretty major impacts as far as rainfall and wind are concerned. As we take a look at the overall tropics here, you can see that we do see a code yellow, 30% chance of development there in the middle of the Atlantic offshore of Africa. 0% chance over the next 48 hours, but a 30% chance over the next 7 days. We could see this increase over time, in which case we would eventually likely see this one develop. Or, as they do sometimes, we could see this one kind of just fizzle out and never end up happening. Either way, we have a disturbance to talk about, and we're going to be talking about it for days to come. Let's take a look here at the upcoming pattern, and by the time we're reaching this evening, we see a couple of very intense things. We see this cold front stretching down all the way through the Gulf, and this is really just behind a lot of cooler air that is moving into a lot of these areas. And there's a lot of storms along this line, probably in the form of thunderstorms, especially in the deeper south there. So for Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama area. We see also Arkansas, up into Tennessee, Kentucky, the Ohio Valley. At some point, as you move northward, it becomes heavier showers as opposed to thunderstorms, but it's really hard to pinpoint exactly where that would be. We do have a lot of precipitation around, and this is going to come in the form of pretty dreary weather with some rainfall at times. It's kind of that type of deal with the cooler air here. And we're going to be watching closely for that. We do have this 1001 millibar low pressure center there, and probably bringing a lot of those impacts with it. By the time we're taking a look at Friday afternoon, tomorrow on October 6th, we see a lot of this activity again in that Arctic blast. We see the cold front is somewhere in this pocket here, as we see again this cold air really diving quickly into the areas marked below. We see a very strong positive PNA taking place here, and this is what's allowing for this cold air to dive southward in the east. This is exactly what we've talked about for months, and I've been trying to educate you guys as much as possible on these PNA patterns, because to me, they dictate everything. Everything to the east of them is completely and directly impacted by what the PNA is doing. Pacific North American Oscillation, basically warmer or colder temperatures along that western seaboard of North America is going to control a whole lot. As we reach Saturday timeframe, October 7th here, what we see is that this Arctic blast is now located here, centered over this area. We have a whole lot of precipitation around for a lot of the east and the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes there, and then we see Felipe right here about to move onshore as well and meet up with all of this, and it drops all the way down to a 981 millibar low pressure center here right before making impact. And this is going to feel a lot more like a strong nor'easter, and this brings a lot of winds and a lot of rainfall to these northeast areas there for the day on Saturday. And even as we take a look at Sunday, October 8th here, what we end up seeing again is this positive PNA and then a very strong cool down here moving into a lot of the east here. So that is what we're seeing at this point. 981 here still, so a very strong low overhead as well. And we just continue to see this. By Monday, things are looking a little bit quieter. Tuesday, October 10th here, we do see a little bit of a storm system moving into the northwest, and this will bring some impacts for areas out there as well. Wednesday here, On October 11th, what we're seeing is plenty of showers along this jet stream here. We do have some influence heading in through this area, also some Arctic influence as well here, as everything's kind of split up here. And this just brings a lot of precipitation into this area. Also note that there's a lot of Gulf activity during this time frame, so mid next week. And certainly that's going to be something to watch for, as that could potentially bring some tropical impacts with it, of course. By the time we're reaching Thursday, we do see a little bit of a low developing, 1001 here, with some very heavy precipitation along it, probably thunderstorms, maybe even some, again, tropical activity developing. We do see a 998 millibar low pressure center developing there over Oklahoma and Texas. We see plenty of precipitation to the north of it here, and that could certainly pose a risk for some areas of seeing a lot of precipitation. We're still seeing this very positive PNA look. We see something like this, and a lot of this moisture is moving along that jet stream, so we're seeing storminess along the eastern edge of that jet stream, and that's pretty common, actually, believe it or not. We see a very strong low again here in the northeast, so many impacts in the northeast and Ohio Valley as a result of that. And we're still seeing that Arctic air mass sitting over the east. As you can see, the jet stream at this point doing about like this. A little bit wacky, definitely wacky, but definitely a lot of Arctic air funneling into this trough, and this is going to continue to bring below normal temperatures for a pretty extended amount of time, and we still have a lot of warmth surging into this ridge here, so that is going to continue to pay dividends and continue to send the cold eastward. Now, as we take a look at the total precipitation, no surprise that the most above average areas is going to be here in the northeast, and this extends back through a lot of the Midwest and plains here, and this is as a result of Felipe moving up, the cold front moving through, and then a second low pressure system. We actually get two low pressure systems at different points in this area, and that all leads to above average activity. And then we can see for these areas impacted by this Gulf moisture, we expect above average activity down here moving across as well. So that's the two areas we're mostly pinpointing here at this point for above average activity. Now, the temperature pattern, we see warmth in the east overall, but that cold moves in a hurry. We start to see it by Friday, Saturday timeframe, so starting tomorrow. And by Sunday, this will be fully engaged in the eastern states, coast, Gulf Coast to East Coast, not west to East Coast, but coast to coast from the Gulf all the way up to the eastern seaboard here. And then we see this very strong, very healthy positive PNA is what I'd call it, not looking to go anywhere anytime soon, and that's helping to send that cold air eastward. We stay in a positive PNA for the most part. There is some signs here of potential negative PNA type developments, so we see some cold developing here, but we still see the cold over the east as well. I'm going to do a down arrow for that, so colder temperatures. As we continue on, we see that positive PNA resurfaces, especially as we reach the next weekend. And we see, again, positive temperatures, positive PNA here. And this sends the cold back into the central states, and it's moving rapidly towards the east by this point, Saturday, October 14th. And by the time we reach Sunday, October 15th, we see it has returned to the east with, again, far below normal temperatures. So that looks to be a pretty extended pattern, to say the least. And as we take a look beyond that, here is Sunday the 15th to October 20th here, and we see cooler temperatures overall for a lot of the east during this time frame, and again, still that positive PNA here during that time frame. Let's take a look at the 20th through the 25th, and we still see a lot of this cold hanging on for the east, but we do see some, again, signs of a negative PNA perhaps trying to take place. But as we head towards the 25th through the 30th, we see the cold hanging on for the east. And eventually what we see is more and more warmth continuing to build back in for this area. It stays pretty neutral, but more signs of a positive than not. And we continue to see signals of cold heading eastward all the way through November 14th to November 19th, according to this long-range model. Take it with a grain of salt. It is very far out, but there is some signals now that we could have some prolonged cold through a majority, if not almost all of October, and even parts of November, which is very interesting. Now, we do upload every single day, so be sure to subscribe for more weather-related content just like this video. Be sure to also hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload, so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.